Hi, I'm Aaron Hamlin. I'm the Executive Director for the Center for Election Science. What we do is we focus on electoral systems. A big focus of ours is focusing on particular voting methods, which is how you express your vote and how that vote is calculated. Now, and there's a really big demand for attention to this at the moment because we can see a discrepancy between what voters want and the outcomes that they get. So you look at the political scene at the moment and you see about 40% of Americans identify as independents, and yet within the federal legislature, less than 1% are independent or third party. Within the state level legislatures, we see the same thing. Again, less than 1%. So the question is, why is there's this huge discrepancy? And to make matters worse, we have an over 90% incumbency rate, and Congress has been in single digits with their approval rating. Now, and at the Center for Election Science, what we look at with this as the main problem is the voting method. So when you're going in and you're voting in the voting booth, you see a slate of candidates, and if you're lucky and your state's ballot access laws are lenient enough, you see more than two. But regardless of how many people are on the ballot, you can only choose one candidate, and that's extremely limiting. So obviously, when you're filling out your ballot, you have all kinds of opinions about these candidates, but yet you're not able to say anything other than selecting that one candidate. And if you think about it, there's really no way to offer less information than that. And that has huge consequences. So because of this method, we're forced to do things like we're not able to actually support the candidates that we like. So we typically have a candidate on the ballot that we don't like. So under plurality, what we're normally doing is we're looking at the front runners and saying, okay, well, I don't want this other candidate to win, so I'm going to vote for this other front runner that I suppose is acceptable comparatively. But what we're not doing is we're not supporting the candidates that we really like, which should be really telling. The fact that we have a voting method that doesn't even allow us to choose the candidate that we really like. And so that has all kinds of secondary consequences, which lead to things like third parties and independents getting an artificially low amount of support. And so what that means to in practice is that in debates often have to use a particular criterion in order to decide who gets in those debates. Typically what that is polling, and they use plurality polling. But what happens is, if these people being polled are being forced to choose just one, that same thing is happening. They're not able to choose their honest favorite, and as a consequence, these third parties, independents, are getting an artificially low amount of support, and so they're not being invited in debates. They're getting marginalized by the media, and so where they're bringing ideas to the table, regardless of how good those ideas are, they're automatically getting marginalized because the way they're being interpreted is, well, if your ideas were good, you'd be doing better in polling, and you'd also be doing better in the actual elections. But you're not, so your ideas must not be very good. So, and this is an unfortunate consequence, because what's going on there, it's not that their ideas are bad, it's just our voting method is bad. This choose one plurality voting method we have is a terrible way to vote. So we just are using a really bad measurement system. So choosing one candidate is a very bad way to measure support. So here at the Center for Election Science, the main voting method that we push is something called approval voting. So imagine yourself in an election. Like imagine yourself, say, in the 2000 election, and say you had Republican Bush, you had Gore as a Democrat, and you had Nader under the Green Party banner. There were other candidates, but for simplicity, we're just looking at those three for a moment. And say you were a Nader fan. Well, if this is plurality voting, what you might have to do is you say, well, maybe you don't like Bush, and so you have to vote for Gore in order to keep Bush from winning, and so you're hedging your bets. But with approval voting, what you can do is you can vote for Gore to hedge your bets against Bush. But in addition to that, you can support your honest favorite. You could support Nader in that instance. And if your ideology was maybe on the other end, in a different election, you could support maybe a libertarian candidate, and you can also support maybe the Republican candidate, and to keep the Democrat from winning. Or if you didn't like any of the major candidates, well, what you could do is you could support all the third-party candidates as you wanted. So what it comes down to is if we want new ideas to be able to enter the field and really have a reasonable discussion within the political marketplace, we need to lower that barrier to entry and use a sensible voting method to make sure that measurement of support is accurate. And under our current scenario, we are just not doing that. So we push approval voting to make sure that not only we get better election outcomes, people can choose their honest favorite, but so that we can have a real discussion on political issues. And to learn more about this, you can go to electology.org and visit our site at the Center for Election Science.
For Ben and Jerry, life wasn't always fair. First there was gym class, that wasn't fair, so they opened an ice cream shop in Vermont where it snows a lot. That's not fair. Then the cowmobile caught on fire, really not fair. Then Ben lost his hair, so not fair. But one thing that is fair is their fair trade flavored chocolate fudge brownie. It's fair for the guys who bake the brownies, and the farmers who grow the cocoa, and their communities, and the cows that make the dairy. It's fair for them, which makes the chewy chocolate fudge brownies fair and the creamy chocolate ice cream fair too. It's part of our growing fair trade family. Now that's fair. As for the balding thing, sorry Ben.
For years, it's been the same politics, left or right, with the mainstream media marching in line. The White House, a constant swinging pendulum, left to right. It's time for free and equal elections. More voices, more choices. Free and Equal presents the United We Stand Festival Tour, featuring iconic musicians, intellectuals, and socially conscious corporations, coming together to inspire and motivate our future leaders to exercise their individual freedoms through civic engagement, tackling important issues that affect today and our future. For more info and additional resources, visit UnitedWeStandFest.com. Forget politics as you know it.
MAPS is the leading nonprofit organization working to legitimize the therapeutic applications of MDMA, LSD, psilocybin, and medical marijuana. MAPS is working tirelessly within the parameters of real scientific research to prove to the Food and Drug Administration that these medicines should become available by prescription. We are counting on the support of thousands of people like you in order to achieve our goals. Please become a member and donate now. Why not today? Log on to www.maps.org/donate. When used with the help of a trained therapist, these medicines can help. MAPS, putting the MD in MDMA.